from CBS Sports, the Great American Race, the Daytona 500.
Put yourself in Kenny Schrader's shoes. For 3 years, he's had the fastest car. He's sitting on the pole. Everyone expects him to win the Daytona 500. And then, disaster strikes. Put yourself in Dale Earnhardt's seat. He's won just about every race there is to be run. But he's never won the Daytona 500. And people keep asking why. How would you like to be Rusty Wallace, the defending national champion, buried in the back of the pack and considered by experts as nothing more than a long shot today? The smiles, the confidence. At Daytona, every driver has them. But in the grandstands and the garages, there's also a note of wariness, a discernible tenseness, because Richard Petty is back. Daytona has been more than tough the past few years for King Richard, but the word is he's coming back. Watch out for Petty. He's got a good car and a good chance, and that's all Richard Petty ever needed.
This CBS Sports Special, the Daytona 500. Is sponsored by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? First Brands Corporation, maker of STP oil treatment and son of a gun protectant. And by Budweiser, Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you.
This race has been won from the pole, but the furthest back it's been won from is 33rd spot. And Kenny Schrader qualified on the pole, but because now you're in a backup car on that second pace lap, you'll have to go all the way to the back of the field. How do you intend to get right back up here in front and win this thing?
I don't know if it's going to be getting right back up here. We don't care about getting right back up here. We just want to get up here before this thing's over, and we got enough time to get that done.
Now, you're an aggressive driver. Is it going to be tough to conserve the equipment, take your time, pace yourself?
I don't always do that so good, but, you know, if there's a place you can really run hard, it's right here at Daytona Beach. So I think we'll be able to get through the deal thing pretty good.
Kenny, good luck today. There's another story involving some cars that'll start this race at the back of the field. Let's go topside to Ken Squire.
Well, this year's 500 is a little different. It's more than a race. It's a setting for a new motion picture from the makers of Top Gun. Days of Thunder, starring Tom Cruise right here as a NASCAR driver, is adding some $2,000 to the purse for each Daytona 500 starter. Most drivers like the idea of the Top Gun image, but there are others who hold that movie making shouldn't be on their biggest day of thunder, the Daytona 500. Here you see some of the footage that was being shot the other day with Tom Cruise here. Now, there are two camera cars that will start in the back of the field, both driven by veteran drivers. Number 18 is Tommy Ellis, the Grand National champion, and 51 is Bobby Hamilton, who's a terrific Grand National driver out of Nashville, Tennessee. They're going to run 100 miles and then pull off. Let's go down and find out more about this story from David Hobbs.
A lot of the drivers aren't sure that you should be out there with them. How do you feel about joining into racing Super Bowl and just playing?
You know, what they're doing here is going to benefit the sport in the long run. So we've had meetings after meetings. We're going to do the same. So I think after it turns out, they'll say.
You're a good race driver. When you see that green flag, you're going to get tempted to say, "Oh, I'll just have a go for a couple of laps here."
We're here to make a movie, and as soon as we get what we need, you know, Tom Ellis and I are not back here to stand each other, stand everybody's way.
Well, in Hollywood, they say break a leg, but we know what you're doing that today. And from the Hollywood end of the grid, we're going to go away here for just 1 minute. But don't you go away.
The starting lineup for the 1990 Daytona 500. On the pole for the third straight year, Ken Schrader, and alongside, trying for his first 500 win, Dale Earnhardt. Ken Schrader, he's the kind of guy that will race anytime, anywhere, including those tough little bullpens where anything goes when the green flag drops. qualifying third, Geoff Bodine, the 86 winner, and two-time champion Bill Elliott outside. Row 3 is Harry Gant and rookie 500 driver Jimmy Spencer. In row 4, it's Mark Martin from Arkansas and Phil Parsons. In row 5, Darrell Waltrip, defending champion, and Bobby Hillin. Darrell Waltrip, he's proud these days of the new priorities in his life.
I guess you'd say, what can make me feel this way, Jessica? Give me a kiss.
Making his 30th start, 7-time winner Richard Petty, alongside from the Northwest Derrike Cope. In row 7, it's A.J. Foyt, the 72 champ, and Mississippi's Lake Speed. Row 8 is Mike Alexander in the Bobby Allison team car, and Davey Allison. Row 9 is Butch Miller and Irby Irvan from California. In row 10, it's Ricky Rudd and Terry Labonte, second here in 86. Row 11 is Sterling Marlin and Kyle Petty. Kyle Petty, in number 42 car, has given up a singing career to focus on racing only this year, but he still could sing a good song. Row 12 is the rookie Jack Pennington and Michael Waltrip from Kentucky. Row 13, Wisconsin's Alan Kulwicki and Larry Pearson. In row 14, Joe Ruttman and Florida's Rick Wilson with a new team. Row 15 is an outstanding rookie, Rich Bickle and Morgan Shepherd. Row 16, Neil Bonnet from Alabama and Dick Trickle out of Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin. Row 17 is Brett Bodine and Hut Stricklin. Row 18, Arizona's Phil Markdahl and the 21-year-old rookie Robbie Moroso from Connecticut. Row 19, Jimmy Means out of Alabama and defending Winston Cup champion Rusty Wallace. Rusty Wallace, he'll cinch up the seatbelt on anything that goes fast. That's him. For row number 20, rookie Jerry O'Neill from Auburn, New York, and Jimmy Horton, winner of the ARCA 200 last Sunday. Row 21 is Eddie Bierswell and Dave Marcus in his 23rd Daytona 500 start. And then there's the crew from Days of Thunder. All the way in the rear, 2 cars for Nashville's Bobby Hamilton and the 2-time Grand National champion Tommy Ellis. And as the field completes its first preliminary lap, we pause to remember a driver who wanted to make his 68th Winston Cup start. Slick Johnson, who lost his life here at Daytona, injuries sustained in the ARCA 200 last Sunday. He may have never won here. He'd only run this race twice in 80 and 85, finishing in 14th and 20th. But he will always be remembered as a champion at Myrtle Beach in Timmonsville. We'll miss Slick Johnson. Settling down for a start, 32nd annual 500, as 94,000 in the grandstand rise to send them off with a Daytona ovation. Let's listen. Busting through traffic, Marcus in the 71 at the bottom. From the back of the field around Jimmy Means.
It was expected that he'd maybe clip off 8 or 10 cars on this first lap. He has a lot of horsepower into that Chevrolet, but he'll have to drive carefully so as to not get in trouble.
Out in front, it is Bodine from the point. Earnhardt lies second. They just moved that inside row up. From Mark Martin's picture, right in front of him is Phil Parsons, and down to his left is Waltrip.
We've talked to Dale Earnhardt this morning. It had rained last night, and when we woke up this morning, it was still raining. This track is different from when they practiced late yesterday afternoon. It'll be interesting to see who has made the right chassis adjustments on their cars for this.
But it's got
trouble out here on the corner. Mike Alexander running slowly on the bottom of the racetrack. Field into the back straightaway. Car number 12 off the pace. That is the Allison car.
There's some concern just before the race started, Ken, among the officials about the electrics here. It rained all night. The caution lights here weren't working properly. They're afraid they may have to go to the old yellow flag method. We'll have to see when the first occasion for yellow comes. Here's Mike Alexander again.
Let's see what the issue was here.
Well, Mike Alexander down on the inside of Sterling Marlin in car number 94, and Alexander gets very loose. You can see the back end break loose, but that's tire smoke that we're seeing as Richard Petty and Ken Schrader go by on the outside, but he gets it back up on the banking, and he just told his crew after he got on the straightaway that everything was okay. Cost him a few positions and a few anxious moments.
Now, as you watch that in slow motion, you have to remember that that was over 185 miles an hour, and he was able to number 11. Ned, I think this is one of the most dramatic runs I've ever witnessed at Daytona.
I'll tell you, you could have gotten some awfully good bets this morning that he would not be able to come through.
Well, he's been working traffic. The car's working great.
Petty is in trouble. Spinning, sliding to the inside. Richard Petty's car number 43 running in 13th position. Caution is out on the track. First caution of the day. This is in the turns 1 and 2 area.
And Ken, I believe he's stuck down in the grass. I don't think he can get the car to move him.
Richard Petty, who had a brilliant ride in the 125-mile qualifier. Caution is coming out. It will show Schrader in second spot, Earnhardt in the lead. And they say a tire went down on car number 43. Richard Petty's crew. There's his crew. They have to be dejected. They were so high, so up for this event after the great performance all week, and particularly in the 125 when he fought his way to the lead.
You know, he held it beautifully when he got into trouble. It shows the talent that man has.
Look again.
He was running behind Phil Parsons in car number 4, going along fine, and all of a sudden the back end just starts to go around.
That tire
That's Lake Speed going by on the outside as the tire went down. He holds it down on the inside pretty good for a little bit. Then he goes back up the high side of the racetrack. A lot of smoke coming from the car. He never hits the outside wall, though, and brings it back down on the inside.
And aside from new tires, you ought to be able to get back in it.
Yeah, if he can get the thing to going again. Here he goes. He's finally going now. The left rear tire is flat now. And it'll be a long journey back to the pits. Of course, he has lost at least one lap out there on the racetrack.
Well, this is a break. 60-some miles into the race.
For folks that might have joined us for the first time.
A couple of years ago, NASCAR mandated a smaller hole in a plate that sits on the bottom of the carburetor on top of the intake manifold to restrict the amount of fuel and air that can go into the engine to reduce the horsepower, which in turn reduces the speed of the cars.
And it's down to 15/16. A year ago, it was a 1-inch hole. They made it. Petty down and stopped.
Stuck in the grass. That left rear tire is flat now, and it just simply won't pull. The wrecker is going to have to push him in.
That's a tough break.
It is a tough break because the man, I think, had a legitimate shot at winning this race. He had dropped back some, but he had begun to come back towards the front. And then the tire. You know, I remember a few years, well, maybe more than a few years ago, that Richard Petty was 8 laps down at Dover, Delaware, and came back to win the race.
At Nashville, Tennessee, one race I was many years ago, he was 13 laps off the pace and wound up winners.
And didn't he in his first, the number 11 car down to the bottom and sneak his way up through comes the Geoff Bodine machine. See if we can find out what's going on with Richard Petty's car. Phil Parsons slowing down pretty dramatically out there. Looked like he might be coming in. Let's go to David Hobbs.
Well, Ken, the big problem with Richard Petty's car is that when all 4 tires went down,
Leader Dale Earnhardt is coming up on the movie cars, and there we go. He's in the film Days of Thunder.
They pitted for a while. They were in for several laps and came back out.
Well, you hope to get their pictures in a hurry because he went by them pretty quickly.
They're just running 100 miles, and they are not being scored. Two machines out here for that motion picture.
Ken, you mentioned Phil Parsons going into the pits there just a moment ago. He had a change of right side tires. He's going back out, but he's going a lap down to the field. Tough break for Phil Parsons. He was in for about 26 seconds.
Speedway, we've just had a major incident down here in turn 1 involving 4 cars. It looked like Phil Parsons, number 4, got loose. The Mike Alexander number 12 has been collected. So has Alan Kulwicki's car number 7 been involved, and Robbie Moroso, the rookie's number 20. That's his second car this week. He had one wiped out in turn 2 when a car was losing oil in front of him in practice the other day.
Well, here we can see the car number 4 of Phil Parsons already sideways. Alan Kulwicki down on the inside, and Rob Moroso right in the middle, and Mike Alexander, the car coming up behind there, the red car number 12, as they spin out into the grass. A lot of damage done to the 3 cars on the left, the 20 car, the 12 car, and the 4 car. Now, Alan Kulwicki doesn't seem to have too much damage to the car number 7 on the right. In fact, he gets away
he
from
got
the
going.
scene
He's
of the
back
accident.
on the way to the pits now.
Here's Mike Joy.
Steve Bird is trying to find out where his race car is.
Oh, we're just stuck in the mud, and we'll get it back here and see how bad it is.
The defending Busch Grand National champion is the youngest driver in this field, and it appears that the rain last night didn't so much affect him
during this caution flag period.
We'll check the number of laps he's down in just a moment after that incident involving Richard in turn 2. Here's Alan Kulwicki, number 7, pitting. A.J. Foyt alongside there. Kulwicki's car dented some in the back. Here's Dave.
Just a year ago, Alan Kulwicki might well have won this race, but for a late flat tire. Now his left front tire is flat. They'll change the right side rubber. He's been tagged in the rear. That does not appear to be substantial damage. The nose of the car is also scuffed and skinned, but not badly beat up. It will be a slower race car than he started this race with, but it appears to be a car that can still go out and run the remainder of the 500 miles. Ken Squire.
Talk about the pit crew work. Dale Earnhardt just came in and got out 24.7 seconds, took on 4 tires, where Ken Schrader also got 4 tires for 31.7 seconds. That's 6 seconds longer Schrader's crew took than Earnhardt's crew.
Under caution, second time today in the Daytona 500, as Earnhardt continues to be the dominating factor up in front, and Ken Schrader is the dominating factor. Challenge out here in car number 25, and now we see Kulwicki's car going back behind the wall for additional work.
Well, that was a little surprising. I thought that he was ready to go back out on the racetrack, but the car was not, the engine was not running on the car, so you can see they pulled the hood up on it now, so they're looking underneath there. Let's go to Mike Joy.
The 2 movie cars have been withdrawn as of lap 41. Tommy Ellis and Bobby Hamilton. Hovering overhead today is the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise. He has cut down a tire. He is back on the track, running several laps down from the leaders. Here you see some of the 35mm work that's going on for the new motion picture about stock car racing down there on pit road. Earnhardt in front and seeming to be able to run by himself. That train of cars can't catch him.
Hey, that's bad news for the rest of the field, Ken.
I'm in the pits with one of the most incredible people probably in the whole race ground today, and that is Rick Hendrick, whose cars were on the front row today and last year, and your very first trip to Daytona itself was only in 1983. Where do you go to next?
I don't know. I'm hoping we were going to go to Victory Lane today with one of our cars. It's a long race, and Schrader's out of it now, but you know, they're running good, and we always like to do well down here. We've had a lot of tremendous success. This is a place that we want to always do well. It's a Super Bowl of our sport.
Well, first and second last year, Ken Schrader made an amazing run to the front. What did you think of that? Did you expect it?
Well, you know, we told him to get to the front as quick as he could, but be careful. And I've never seen a car come through the pack, especially since we've been running the restrictor plate as well as that car did. Kenny did a heck of a job of driving, and just a credit to the setup and the car with the backup car that come to the front in 20-some laps. So, and he was just taking it easy when we had a failure, but that's racing.
Well, unlike most owners down here, you've got 2 more shots in the locker. You've got Ricky Rudd and Darrell Waltrip. Can either of those 2 guys win this race yet?
Darrell is getting comfortable. He's adjusting the car. He feels okay. Ricky Kulwicki's really happy with his car. He's been running in the top 10 all day, and they're just waiting to get him right there at the end. There's no sense in going out there racing right now as hard as you can go. So we got our hopes up, and we're going to run them hard there all day.
Well, you sort of started to take over NASCAR, front row twice in a row. Any other plans after NASCAR days?
Not right now. We want to win the championship this year. We're working awful hard towards that goal. You know, all the teams are doing well, and we're just excited about what we've got to look forward to this year. We've had a great year last year. We're off to a good start. So we're just going to try to do the best we can with what we got.
Okay, well, that's Rick Hendrick, a very powerful man in NASCAR circles, but a bit disappointed today.
93 laps are complete. We are under caution for the third time today. The reason was from the car that you just saw, car number 11, in trouble up in turn number 2. Here's Mike Joy quickly.
Ken, they'll change the right side tires at least. No, they're going all the way around. They may have flat spotted the tires after he spun, but he'll get back out for the run to the finish. Here's Dave Despain.
Will be bunched and ready to fight it out to decide the 500. Now let's look at what happened to bring out the caution flag.
Okay, we're riding with Geoff Bodine. With the race cam, and then you can see it start to spin around. He was looking at the infield when he should have been looking straight ahead. Of course, that's when he was spinning around. And you can see him fight the wheel. It was a 360, and then he kept going. So Geoff Bodine not hitting anything.
Right, number 3, Earnhardt.
And look at it moving up here. That Purolator sponsored car. Purolator is being sold now by its parent company because it doesn't fit in the scheme of things. And here it is running second in the Daytona 500. Maybe winning it.
The white flag coming down to Dale Earnhardt.
1 lap to go. Does anybody have anything left? The Cope with the man in black.
Here's what's going to happen. Maybe. I thought Terry Labonte was going to try to move down and take over second place, and if he does, that'll just open it up for Earnhardt to move away. We'll see. Naturally, every one of them wants to gain a position, whether it's from 4th to 3rd or whatever, but if they do get side by side, it'll help Earnhardt.
This is the half a lap to go.
4-car shootout to decide it all. Dale Earnhardt.
Here comes Cope down on the inside. Earnhardt has problems.
Slopping back. Something is amiss. Here comes the field driving for the finish. And on the outside, it is car number 10, Derrike Cope. Something amiss on the Earnhardt car. Coming to the line. It's Labonte pulling up, and an amazing finish. The Whitcomb Racing team has won it.
Unbelievable.
Like Earnhardt had a tire go down maybe as he went into the turn. And Nicole crying a little bit.
Derrike Cope's first top 5 finish, his first victory, comes in the Daytona 500. A remarkable day of sport.
Unbelievable. Bob Whitcomb, who brought a team out 3 years ago, had nothing but misfortune and bad luck. And Rick Hendrick, who gave a car to one driver today to be in this race, literally gave it to him just to get him out of here. Hut Stricklin, after he was involved in that altercation. Now he's put some motors together for this team, and they've won the biggest race of all. It's a great win for the Northwest. When you think of the years that they've had drivers come down here from the Northwest to race, this is the first time they have ever tasted a victory in the Daytona 500. Look again at what happened.
Well, Earnhardt looked like he had things in command. All of a sudden, his Chevrolet just slows, and he goes up into the second groove. Something happened to that car. I guess the engine. I thought he had a tire go down, but I believe it was something else. He lost power. Cope took advantage of it. Here's Earnhardt coasting around. Cope comes on to win.
Terry Labonte will come home with a second-place finish. Bill Elliott in third. Let's go to Dave Despain.
Derrike Cope. Well, maybe James Buster Douglas has won the Daytona 500, because coming here today, perhaps nobody gave this man a shot to be here in victory lane. Derrike Cope, hop on down here, has won the Daytona 500. Can you believe it?
Absolutely not. I'll tell you what, in my wildest dreams, you always come down here with optimism, but, this is the one that eludes everybody, and Darrell Waltrip did it last year, for the first time in his career, and it is a pleasure to have the Purolator Chevrolet Lumina up front and take the win like this. It's a dream come true.
You played professional baseball. You came down here to race with virtually no money last year. and now you've won the biggest prize in all of this sport. Tell me about the pass for the lead.
Well, you know, Earnhardt was dominant all day long. There's no way I was going to get him. I was just trying to hold off Terry Labonte, but he blew a tire going in the last turn. He did a heck of a job holding that car in line. I went to the bottom side and had the win. But I'll tell you, Dale was a dominant car. But that Purolator Chevrolet Lumina is #1 in victory lane.
Derrike, congratulations. Let's go to David Hobbs.
Dale, what the heck happened on the last lap?
We run over some debris and cut a right rear tire down, David. Just a quarter of a lap away from victory. Not much you could do about it.
I was sitting with your wife, and it was absolute devastation in your motorhome. We're all real sorry for you. Better luck next time.